15 minutes.
Merci bien, Monsieur le Président, mais je ne compte pas finir comme l'oncle Ben le fait, étant tué au début du film. Je vous remercie pour cette introduction. J'ai en fait très peu à ajouter, mais je vais essayer quand même. Honourable members, I've been really looking forward to our meeting tonight. We have a lot to discuss, and I've come here seeking your support and also your guidance. All of us here ran as candidates in the European elections in May. We went to our citizens with plans for the future, and now you, as their directly elected representatives, will get 5 years to turn these plans into reality, and I'm here today hoping you will give me your support to do my bit in the von der Leyen Commission to make sure we deliver what we promised. That this is not going to be easy is the mother of all understatements. We are faced with a challenge that is truly existential. And what we need to do will be truly transformational. This is about rebooting our society so that what we hold dearest is preserved and improved for our children, grandchildren, and future generations. We cannot afford the luxury of screwing this up. I will keep the diagnosis of the challenges we face to a minimum because, frankly, to repeat the science to you is a waste of everybody's time. You all know, and we all know, the problems. We know the possible dire consequences for our habitat, health, and our future. We all know that our citizens want us to do something about it, and fast. What we must do now is act. Citizens want the EU to take action that corresponds to the magnitude of the challenge. They also want action that caters for the practical challenges they experience every day, putting food on the table, heating their homes, getting a job, finding a good school for the kids, decent care for their elderly parents, and in general, just making ends meet. The world and their world are one and the same. We can only succeed if both prosper. Neglect one, and both will suffer. That is why, if you decide to confirm the von der Leyen Commission, we will ensure that the profound transformation required is a just transition. We need to put fairness at the center of our policies and base all of our future work on a set of just transition principles. And we need a dedicated just transition fund to support the people and communities most affected, including those in the industrial, coal, and energy-intensive regions. It is our task to demonstrate clearly and concretely that to our citizens, that the Green Deal can help solve problems and improve life for them now, not just 20 or 30 years down the road. Clean air in our cities and clean water in our rivers and oceans, that is what we need, so that we can lead healthier lives on a planet that can sustain all of humanity, where the economy grows to the benefit of the many, not the few, with jobs for everyone. In short, the European Clean Deal must put Europe on the right track to a sustainable future and ensure that every European is on board and no one is left behind. Our ambition is to make Europe the world's first climate-neutral continent. We can achieve this by 2050 if we plan well and start straight away. The next 5 years will be crucial. I will propose a climate law within 100 days of taking office to enshrine in legislation the EU's 2050 climate neutrality objective. This law will set the long-term direction of travel for all our policies. I will also start work immediately to deliver a higher level of ambition for 2030. And as soon as possible, I will put forward legislative proposals that will help us to reduce emissions by at least 50% or even better, by 55%. We will review and update our existing climate and energy legislation. It is also clear we have to consider additional measures to achieve our goals: cleaner transport, less energy-hungry buildings, a more sustainable food system. We cannot afford the luxury of complacency. But on the other hand, there is no reason to despair either. Compared to 1990, the EU has achieved a reduction of greenhouse gases of 22%, while our economy has grown by 58%. We've shown that tackling climate change does not harm the European economy. Now we need to raise the bar and aim for higher ambitions. This is something we can do. We have the skills, we have the brains, the people, we should also muster the political will in every single member state. I could go on giving you targets and percentages. I could elaborate on the broadening of the ETS, and I'm sure we'll come back to that in your questions. But first, I would like to talk about what the Green Deal could do for Europe's citizens. For instance, for social housing tenants or homeowners, especially those already struggling to pay their energy bills now. We're talking about more than 50 million Europeans, which to me is a completely unacceptable figure. We should not raise their energy bill, we should lower it, and that's entirely possible by being more energy efficient. Together with member states and regional and local authorities, we should consider large renovation projects for social housing tenants and private homeowners to pay for insulation or double glazing or the fitting of solar panels. We should set up fair financing schemes in cooperation with EIB and InvestEU to ensure residents don't have to find tens of thousands of euros up front, which they simply don't have, but rather we support this investment, or they are given a credit line and use the energy savings to gradually pay off the costs. With initiatives like this, the Green Deal could mean lower energy bills for better and more comfortable houses. Everybody wins. Public buildings like schools and hospitals should also be eligible for support. Improving energy efficiency could free up more money for education and healthcare. And by the way, all of this renovation work would create stable and local jobs. You can't delocalize that work. National initiatives, local jobs, backed by public and private financing and European support programs to share knowledge and capacity. That's, in my view, how a European Green Deal can work directly for people. Dear friends, our citizens might live increasingly in towns and cities, but they also like to enjoy nature in their free time. And they are worried about what's happening around them and in ecosystems far away. And I think all of us are very worried, very worried. Whether it's the birds and the bees in our towns and countryside, the fish and incredibly fragile coral in our oceans, our rich forests, or the wild and wonderful animals in remote corners of our planet, we are killing it all off, and at an alarming rate. We must stop this. That is why we will present a robust and ambitious biodiversity strategy for 2030, and why the EU must champion the most ambitious commitments possible at the next UN Conference of the Parties on Biodiversity in China in October next year. Like on climate, we should lead on this as well, worldwide. One way we can lead this work at home is in the food sector. This will be set out in the Commission's Sustainable Farm to Fork initiative. But there's more we need to do. The burning of the Amazon and other primal forests in Central Africa and Southeast Asia has recently confronted us with the urgency of protecting our forests. Nobody has the right to say, that's not your business, to their international partners. These are global common goods. But we should not simply point at others while doing too little ourselves. So here's an idea I would like to put to you. Trees clean the air, cool the city, sequester CO2, shelter animal life, and generally have the capacity to make us feel better. Let us embark on a massive project of reforestation across Europe. Let us restore our forests and create new green spaces in our cities. Let's make it a European plan so that we do it right all across the continent, and so that every city, every region is given the benefit of sharing the best and most successful practices from all across the European Union. The Green Deal should not only be about international biodiversity conferences far away, but also about life around us. The beauty of this is that everyone can be part of this in a very tangible way, and you can see the results straight away. And the Green Deal should benefit the health of our citizens. That's why Europe needs to move towards a zero pollution environment, to tackle environmental degradation and pollution, address air and water quality, hazardous chemicals, industrial emissions, pesticides, endocrine disruptors, and microplastics. Air pollution is still one of the biggest killers in Europe. Do you know that more than 400,000 premature deaths a year are a consequence of bad air quality? How can we accept this? To protect Mother Earth, we also need to stop extracting her limited resources. We need to take our work on the circular economy to a new level, focusing on sustainable products and waste prevention. We must reduce, reuse, and recycle to unlock all its potential for a low-carbon economy. We will propose a new circular economy action plan focusing on sustainable products and resource use, especially in resource-intensive and high-impact sectors such as textiles and construction. Honourable members, transport is one of the most polluting sectors of our economy, and we need to tackle this head on. All over Europe, people depend on their cars for the quality of their daily lives, not seldom even for their livelihood. I know that, and I don't want a car-free Europe. I want emissions-free cars in Europe, and I want people to use clean public transport. We need to cut emissions in the aviation and maritime sectors in particular if we are to meet our climate goals. This requires a careful mix of tools. We need to invest, for example, in our railways. Why is it that people choose to spend more time sitting in an airport waiting for a flight than sitting on a train getting to their destination? In part because it's cheaper, because we're not paying for the externalities. We're running up a debt on Mother Earth's credit card. She cannot afford to pay that debt. This should not be seen as a threat to the transport sector. It's actually an offer. It's an offer because I want to empower the sector to roll out new, clean, efficient, and affordable vehicles and infrastructure. I want Europe to have the best transport systems in the world. The Green Deal will only be successful if all Europeans are part of it. If we really bring the Green Deal close to home, in fact, into our homes. To take this project to the people, we will make the European Climate Pact a cornerstone of the Green New Deal. The Climate Pact will bring together initiatives and pledges from communities, companies, neighbourhoods, sharing knowledge and data, helping and inspiring each other with best practices and concrete results. Look at what you, as European Parliament, have achieved in mobilising citizens in the This Time I'm Voting campaign. Look at what the Committee of the Regions has set up. Look at the initiatives of mayors all over the world. Look at how the NGO community is mobilising people and putting concrete solutions on the table. But most of all, look at what our kids are doing, creating a global movement with the momentum to change the world for the good. Everyone can lead by example. Good choices breed inspiration and imitation. There is nothing greater, I find, than to be inspired by your kids. Dear friends, I have mostly spoken to you about what we need to do in Europe. But of course, there is a huge international dimension. We have to work to convince others to step up their ambition as well. I'm fully committed to strengthening our international climate diplomacy and implementing the Sustainable Development Goals. With the Green Deal, Europe can lead by example, but we should also be prepared to consider other instruments, for instance, a carbon border tax to level the playing field for European products if other countries do not go as far as us or refuse to go in the right direction. As an economic giant, we have tremendous leverage in our trade relations. We can set global standards. We should use that leverage as best we can, combined with convincing arguments to show that at the end of the day, we can all be better off. Honourable Chair, honourable members, we have a long-term goal, but we need to deliver short-term incentives. It is all very well trying to stop the end of the world, but we also need to take along the people who worry about getting to the end of the month. The transformations required are unprecedented and call for cooperation, determination, ingenuity. I'm certainly not saying this is going to be easy. I've never seen anything in Europe that's easy, at least nothing that's worthwhile. Everything that's worthwhile is complicated, but that's the challenge. That's why we're here. If it were easy, we didn't need a parliament or we didn't need a commission. It's because it's complicated that we need to do it, but also because it's the right thing to do. I want to sit here today before you as a partner and a friend, ready to answer your questions and to work with you to build a brighter future. We do it for the people who have put us here, for the European citizens. Thank you very much.